I have been in the garden and I have gathered some foliage. Now this is periwinkle and I really love this. In spring, because it's April at the moment, it flowers with this beautiful lilac flower, and it is all year round, however, available in the garden or from garden centres, from florists. So I don't want you to worry about the names of things. Just, this is viburnum, for example. It's again from my garden. Some of the blossom is still there, some of it isn't, but again, this is available all year round and a wonderful resource. Now, I do have lots of ivy in the garden too. And also these. So I've gathered quite a lot. I've got 3 stems of this, 1 of that, 3 or 4 of these clumps of this, and about 8 stems of the periwinkle. I'm just going to leave them lying nearby. I've got my tape, which is going to be used to keep everything together. And here's some more beautiful, beautiful roses. And these are from a supermarket. They were £6, and that is an amazing price. Supermarkets today sell incredible flowers all year round at wonderful prices. So I bought these for this, and you'll be able to probably go to a local supermarket or a florist and buy some fairly inexpensive roses. I'm just going to put them here. It's just slightly off camera because I need some space to work. So I'd like to invite you to really relax. Let go of all of whatever's going on in your mind about, I'm not qualified, I shouldn't be doing this, I can't do this, because we all tell ourselves all these stories and our brain listens and believes us. I'm just going to throw my bits down on my floor because I can gather them up later. Yeah, we tell ourselves these stories and we absolutely believe it's true. And of course you can create a hand-tied posy. Why can't you? And you can have it in your house, in a vase, or you might even, somebody one day might say, oh my goodness, the wedding flowers didn't turn up. I need a wedding bouquet. And you'll say, I can make you a hand-tied posy, just like that. So what we do to begin with is take away some of the lower leaves. And so we've got a good bit of stem, maybe 6 to 8 inches of stem to catch hold of. And if there's any little bits that are broken, just take those off too. Sorry about this periwinkle, pulling your foliage off you. Okay, now if you get called away, you could have a vase or a mug and you could just stand things in so that they're still drinking some water, not too much, and then they won't wilt so soon. So just take off those ends and leave some of the stems so that you can see. Now, I don't know if you can see that I've got a heel here, a little bit from the end of the branch which was attached to a bigger branch. I'm just going to discard that. So take away those lower bits and leave some stem to catch hold of. And take care, because Sometimes things can be a little bit sharp if you're not sure what you're using. And keep your fingers and hands away from your eyes and your mouth and your nose, just in case. So they've got quite a bit of stem available on there. Okay. Now notice that's quite tall. And you see that? It's a really tall, long one. It's straight, whereas some of these are curved. The tall, straight one, I'd probably stand it right in the middle of the posy. So what we're going to do is prepare the roses. Again, be careful because of the thorns, although these don't seem to have thorns. Do they grow roses without thorns these days? Maybe. So just take off those lower leaves. And we'll just discard these, sadly. Just take your time. There's no rush. You don't need to worry. We're just pulling off the leaves from lower down so that we've got some stems to catch hold of. Now, I don't know how many of these I'm going to need. I've got about 12 roses, I think. And we're just going to gather up a beautiful bunch of foliage and flowers, tie them together and make a hand tied. Okay, so we've got lots and lots of stems here that we can get hold of and see quite clearly. They're not covered in foliage and leaves, just like this. And there's no thorns on them at all. Okay, so let's make a start. Okay, so I've got a mug of water beside me in case I get called away or I want a break and I can stand it in that. I'm going to put my bits and pieces around me, just that you probably can't see them, they're just slightly off camera, just so I've got some space to work. And then we're going to make a start. Oh yes, little spiders have been coming in. So take the tape and just pull a few pieces off, so for your convenience. I would tend to use it directly off the roll, but when we're first beginning something we can be a little bit all fingers and thumbs, so I've got a few pieces ready to use and we can take as much as we want off the roll when we're ready. This is the piece of foliage that was nice and straight and tall, and I'm going to start with that. And I'd encourage you to just gather up whatever interests you out of the foliage and hold them in your hand like this. Just gather them up and hold them. So there's 4 pieces. And I've just gathered them together and I've got a nice pointy bit up here. Okay, so let's take some of the tape and we're going to wrap it almost like sellotaping it up round and round in one little area just round and round the stems a few times to hold them together. So you might be able to just see that there. It's just that little bit here. I've just gone round 2 or 3 times and it's stuck to itself, it's sticky, and so that holds them together. And that feels like a centre for me to begin. So let's have a look at these roses. And what I'm looking for really are the ones that, well, they're all very similar actually. The ones that are slightly bigger and slightly fuller. And I'm going to just hold it in the middle. Like that. So the foliage is sticking above the rose, but you can still see the rose. Okay. And let's have another rose. I'm just going to look for a nice big full one again. Here we are. And again, I'm just going to lay it beside the foliage and the other rose. And just because we're beginning and it's hard to hold it all together, let's use that tape and go around 2 or 3 times just to kind of make it easier to hold it all together. Okay, loving it. Now, the viburnum is lovely and chunky, so I'm going to put a piece of this, just because I want to, in here. So I don't want it to be too high because it would hide my roses, wouldn't it? I want it to be just a little bit lower so that I can still see my roses and I've got some foliage up top. And I'm just holding it alongside the stems. And I'm going to add this piece on the other side. Just gather things up that feel nice to you, that look nice to you, and start adding them in. So I'm poking this rose in through the viburnum stems, and I'm going to let the rose sit a fairly similar height. To the other roses. And again, let's tape this up because it isn't that easy when we first begin. Just tape it up and it will hold it together for you and it'll make it a little bit easier. And it makes it easier for me too. Okay, so that's the beginning. I'm loving how this is looking. Another piece of viburnum, some more periwinkle, and another rose that is a fairly good size. We'll just poke it in there. So it's not too high, it's similar height to the other roses, and it's in amongst the foliage. I'll put another one in. That's a bigger rose. Yeah, this one. Pop it in. If it's easier to tuck it in down the way that way, just go in from above and bring it down the way like that. So we're just poking it down, a similar kind of height to the others. And again, let's tape that up. Just wrap that tape around the stem just a few times and it'll hold it together for you. Just turn it around a few times. Just try and keep the tape on top of itself so it's not spreading too far and wide. Okay, how are we doing? So that rose looks a little bit taller, so I'm just pushing it down slightly so it's not as tall. Some more of the periwinkle, just lay it in, another rose, then you can tape it up. So you can see a little posy, this tears very easily by the way, you can see a little posy forming very quickly. And we're just going round and round with the tape a few times to keep it all together. Okay. Oh, this is looking lovely. Okay, another bit of the viburnum. And another rose in here. There's a bit of a gap, so I'm just going to put that rose in there. So if you can see at the bottom, the stems are sort of going out the way, a little bit like the top, but we've got the middle area where we're taping up. That's a better angle. So just send the tape around the stems a few times to hold it together. You can pull it a bit, and it might break, but you've got a little bit of give. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add more tape and go below where I was adding it. So okay, just keep putting the tape round, holding it all together, round and round a few times. It's better to use more tape than less so it's secure. We don't want it to fall apart. And as time passes, I don't usually do it this way, but as time passes you would get used to doing this and you would be able to hold the whole thing in your hand without using the tape and create your hand tied without taping it up as you go. But we're just looking for easier ways to do this at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to put, because we're getting closer to the outside of the posy, and these have got a lovely curve, I'm going to add these to be around the edge. And again, just keep taping it in. The bulkier this gets, it's not as easy to manage, but at the end it's going to look gorgeous. Just add your tape. So at the moment the tape is now about 2 inches long. I'll just come closer so you can see. So the tape is about 2 inches, holding all the stems together. Okay, and this is how it's looking. Absolutely beautiful, wild, relaxed, and just gorgeous. So turn it around, look for a space where you might want a rose. Add your rose, use tape if you want to. Don't worry about using lots of tape because we're just beginning. So add your tape. Okay, I'm loving how it's looking just as it is. I like things to be very relaxed and wild and free and not too uniform. Just taking some stems off, that was a very long piece. I'm just going to add this in because it's got a curve. Again, kind of round the edge, and put a piece of the periwinkle in as well. I'm going to put a piece of this in over here. So keep using your tape. Keep adding whatever you've got, just keep adding. You might have some long stems of ivy which looks amazing. Just keep wrapping your tape around. So if your critic's busy saying, "What are you doing? You don't know what you're doing," just say, "Thank you, critic. It's okay. I'm just making a hand-tied posy." Right, so let's cut some of these stems off. We'll cut them at a similar length. Don't worry too much. Mine are pinging off in all directions. Okay. So this is how it's looking at the moment. That's a side view, and that's the top view, looking down on it. Isn't that just beautiful and relaxed? Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I don't want it to be too big. Just adding another rose. Might not use all the roses. Just keep adding your tape, letting it all gather up together. And my roses are coming down in length slightly so that the middle roses are higher up. And then as we come down, the roses are getting a little bit shorter. Okay. Some periwinkle. Just adding some periwinkle in at the sides. Adding some more tape to hold it all together. Don't worry about using lots of tape. Make it easy for yourself. The more you do this, if you decide to do it again and again, the easier and quicker this becomes. And you will literally be able to do this without tape. But just to begin with, we're using the tape to make it easier. Cut that stem off there. How are we doing? So keep looking from above at it. Oh yeah, that is gorgeous. So if you look and have a little look about for gaps perhaps. I'm going to put a rose in there like that. Yeah, that looks lovely and rounded and full, and I've got points of foliage coming through, and I can see the roses all the way around, and they look gorgeous. Oh, this is lovely. You just keep adding your tape, adding your tape, adding your tape. Oh, loving this. It's beautiful. Gorgeous, gorgeous roses. So a few more pieces of foliage just to finish it off around the edges, so it looks all the way round, balanced all the way round. Just cut the stem to a similar length. Add your tape. Now as you get to the end, you might want to use a little bit more tape than I am, and that's absolutely fine. Just gather your tape round and you might want more tendrils of ivy coming out from the sides or more periwinkle. It's entirely up to you how this looks. It's how it looks to you and how you feel about it that matters. Okay. Oh, wow. I love that. That's gorgeous. Hasn't taken us long to do. Now, I can see here I've got a bit, oh there we are. I was going to say I've got a bit of a gap. I'm going to move this piece of periwinkle along slightly to fill in just that little bit there, so that when I look down I can see little pointy bits coming out of the sides. I've got my roses. Oh, lovely. Put that final piece of tape around, round and around. As I say, just use more if you need to, because it might make you feel more relaxed that it's well and truly attached to all the stems, so that nothing can drop off. But as time passes, you'll use less tape, and you will get very quick at this. Okay, so let's cut some. I'm cutting the stems to a similar length all the way around. Now, what is if this was for an event, a wedding, for example, we would actually put some ribbon around this area and just attach it with, if you get a pin, a pearl pin, begin it with a pin, put the ribbon on, stick a pin in, wrap the ribbon around the stems, and it would be covered in beautiful ribbon, and you can finish it off either with some glue to keep it in place, or another pin, or a few pins. And they're lovely if you get the pins with the pearl heads. But I'm going to be putting this in a vase in my lounge, and I'm going to admire it very much. But that is how easy it is. We're just literally gathering a handful of flowers and foliages together, holding them in one area with tape so that they're all gathered together, and we can put them in a vase and they will look absolutely gorgeous. I mean, that's just beautiful. Now, no hands. I've cut the stems straight across and it stands on its own. Don't worry if yours won't. We're going to put it in water anyway. It's not important. But this is one way of putting together a lovely, lovely hand-tied posy, and it's so beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to put that into a vase, take it into my house, into my lounge, and admire these beautiful flowers. It's not going to stand up in the mug. Oh yes, it is. So that's going to look so beautiful. Now you could give that as a gift to someone. You could even wrap it with some paper around, wrap it with a ribbon, take it to a relative or a friend and give it as a gift. Or you can enjoy it in your own home. And this really is something you could develop into a business for yourself and make hand-tied posies for brides and bridesmaids. And you know, there's courses all over where you can learn how to make and buttonholes and everything that's needed. And it's a really wonderful, wonderful thing to be doing, to spend time with flowers and foliages and really enjoy how they look. And I've really enjoyed creating this. Love the colours. The foliage looks amazing with those pinky red roses. Absolutely love it.